Welcome back to the Jason Cabinet Experience. We had like some little technical difficulty right there. The electricity went on the building, like not once but twice. But hopefully we're back online right now. So thanks, man, for being patient. All this stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, welcome to Vietnam,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah, we have a good joke about that as well. This thing is not common in Vietnam that got like blackout like that,
yeah,
right? But but this still happen,
yeah,
right? And I think that's why when you in Vietnam, you have to plan for this kind of stuff.
yeah,
It happens. Like,
yeah.
cool.
So do you remember what we were talking about before? Because I sure don't.
Oh,
I
geez.
know we were talking about living. I think we were talking about you had just left. You just moved to Vietnam or something, or
No, I think we actually talk about like let me finish the talk about developing country or
yeah,
something.
developed countries. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was perfect timing.
perfect comment.
Perfect timing.
Right,
Yeah,
the testing, right?
yeah,
That yes, Vietnam still on the way to become more like a hub in this region, to become more like a tech startup region in ASEAN market,
hmm.
right? But
Oh
you,
no, we were talking about. I just asked you if you were an ed tech company or HR tech company,
oh,
and
okay,
you said you were people tech.
correct.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
what does people tech even mean?
That's funny. Because I think I maybe invented that word.
Yeah, I
So
think you may have done
I'm
that.
gonna copyright. I'm gonna put a copyright trademark on it. Ben said it first. But well, the reason why I say that is a lot of people because when we do fundraising, we try to put ourselves in certain categories, right? And if we look at edtech, originally we more like edtech because I start up the company more like an English training center and with the technology behind it. But then we pivot, go a certain period, we pivot. And I think edtech for me, it's more into the technology to support uh, more about education institutions or individual learner,
Mm,
right? But when we in the market, we notice that because we focus on adult learner,
mm,
and when adult learner, then you have to work with company, right? So we move into more enterprise SaaS-based type of business. Then we look at okay, so how we can group ourselves in, so we put ourselves in a little bit of HR related because we have a platform to help HR to better manage their team and grow their teams. Um, but in the end, the people that benefit most are the employees from our platform, right? So when I look at that, I think that we still in the what I call people related
mm.
tech, instead of more like money, like finance or something else. So I would prefer put myself in what I call people tech. Yeah.
So on your thing on your bio on LinkedIn somewhere, it says, "Yeah, smarter." Now, how you say your company? Smarter,
Smarter, man.
smarter.
Yeah.
We believe that great company is built by great people. I have another thing. My motto is you need great people to be great companies. However, most people suck.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure you hire great people versus the ones that suck?
Okay. So, all right. So first of all, why I say in like great company built by great people, right? If you're looking at history of even America, right, a great country, right, it's built by a founding team of great people with a lot of talents, best business, best general in the world, right, to be in America. Same thing in Singapore, a great country by a good founding people. So same thing with Google. So you look at everything great in the world actually created by great people. So I truly believe that a great company built by great people, right? Back to your question about, well, how can you separate the good people and suck, right? Sucker, right? Or what they call a sit warmer, people that they go to work and pretend they work, but they not really work. I think that if you keep, first of all, right? I'm a personal believer that most of people try to do the right thing when you give them the right opportunity, right? Just the matter, do you actually know their strength or not? So typically a company is, especially my companies, I still do a lot of interview for new employee myself, right? I always be in interview. That's the kind of rule of thumb. And I think that that process, it actually helped me connect to the right people, right? So that's in me doing that process more efficiently. And if you actually looking at the book that I told you earlier, Work Rule, that talks about Google at the early day, that they actually focus a lot more on recruitment, because if you can not do anything focus on recruitment, get the right people in first, right? Then you have managed them, right? So that's the first step. So during the process they work with you, you have to kind of separate them based on what? Based on their performance, based on the culture fit, based on do they have a same mission like you? Because at the startup company, you don't have a lot of options on people, right? One people in your team of 10 people, you one goal is 10% of your company already. They make a huge impact on your company, right? The morale, the performance, everything, right? So one people live in your company make a huge impact. So you have to strategically look at how you manage the people. When you get them in, you give them a certain period to prove themselves and manage their performance, get the team observing them. And then during the process, if it not fit to your company, exit. You have to think about, exit them out and get the right people in. Yeah.
We'll talk about this, like, they'll tell startup founders, bring on A players, right? But in reality, it's not easy. Like if someone's an extra A player, they're probably getting paid at Amazon, Google, or they're doing their own thing, right? And then they say, if you bring a B players, then B players bring a C players, right? So is it better to like hold off for A player, which you might not get because you can't afford them or they don't believe your vision, or do you just go ahead and like hire like 10 C players? You have to like kind of micromanage them and do more stuff with them.
Okay. First of all, right, we talked a little bit about sport from the beginning of this. So let's talk about sport as well, right? So first of all, you have to understand you are basically a general manager for a sport team, if you think of that way, right? You depends on what market you're in. If you're in the big market like LA or New York, you have the market that pool in talents. So you talk about similar concept for a tech company. If you're in Silicon Valley already, you maybe have access more to talents. You're in Austin already, you maybe have certain access to certain talents. They could be A, they could be B, but they there. You in Vietnam can be limited options, right? So you maybe can get C, D level of talents here, right? But even with C or D player, if you put them in the right place and give them the right solution problem to solve, they can perform at high level, right? And you just basically at the GM of let's say Oklahoma, right? Like Thunder, right? It's a small market compared to other like big city, but they still have good talent there, right? The strategy actually try to grow those guys, identify them at the early day, right? You don't go after the superstar, you after a certain high potential and you grow them, right? Same thing for Spurs. They are in the process of building, right? Rebuild. So you basically looking at my take on that one is you have to look at where you play in the market in terms of labor workforce. Don't go after only big star too early because you'll run out of cash. Go after the younger one, the eager one to learn, looking for the one that have capacity to do multiple things and try to figure it out. So I do a lot of my staff actually interned with us before, right? Even they only very young people, right? You can look some of my team member in the 20s, right? I'm the oldest one, 40 something. But then you can look at those guys that they're eager to learn, but they don't have the experience. So what you have to try to do is you're looking for more senior people in the experience as the advisor for those guys. So you got the A player, but retired already, coaching for a D or E player. So you can matching those guys. So the point of how you matching them efficiently, that is the job of a founder, myself, right? Or HR, yeah.
So let's suppose someone starts working for you December 1st. First couple of weeks, man, they're struggling, like really having a hard time. How long do you give them to figure out where you say, okay, guy, like this might be the best job for you. You need to go.
December 1st, right? So typically what we do, we call 2-month probation, and that's a common in Vietnam. So when they're in, I try to do this similar like how my previous employer did for me, do rotational. So they come in the first period, they will do what they sign up for. Let's say a developer, they're going to do a developer, or a marketing guy will do marketing for the first month because that's what they sign up for, right? During that period, what we're going to do is we do assessment. So it's not the team lead that assess them, but also the people that work with them, right? That's what we use our platform for. We're assessing people, right? So after 1 month, you give them like feedback, like, hey, this is what other people tell you, not me. The rest of the team think about you in terms of skill, in terms of culture fit, right? I just still want to go with us. They're like, yeah, I still want to work with you guys. I love the culture here, right? And then the next step after that, okay, but look at your strength. These are areas that you need to improve because in our platform, we can actually draw down the skill level, right? So you actually, okay, this area you need to work on. Are you willing to work on those? Yes. Okay, I give you another month. Let's just focus on those, right? So typically after 2 months, that if we see the improvements, then yes, most of the people that we let go is more about culture fit. If you're not fit, you're not eager to learn, and we have to exit them out. Yeah.
So from your point of view, what is performance management? What does that even mean? Is it something that people should be doing, not doing? What is performance management?
All right. So for me, performance management is a different way of people are doing this. But for us, especially for the way we define this, performance is the outcome of what the energy and effort put in, right? But it has to be related to business result. So if some of you guys may be familiar with OKR concept, right? Objective key result, right? So each month or quarter, you have certain objective that we need to achieve, but certain performance that gonna be related to that. I'll give you an example. Let's say this month we need to be more efficient with our marketing. We need to, right? Let's just say that, right? And then maybe one of the key results is we need to have more people follow us on LinkedIn. That's a key result. So right now we are very small, like thousands, right? But maybe by the end of the month we have to be 2,000. So you actually aiming the whole team focus on one objective, one goal, and whatever we do, try to focus on that, right? And measured by key result. That's for me performance related. With that being said, not everyone in the team have a capacity or the skill level to achieve that goal, right? So we talk about 1,000 people follow up smarter in a month. It means that, well, the marketing team going to be involved, the sales team need to be involved, the customer support had to be involved. Everybody need to be involved around it. If you don't know how to do it, then we train you to do it as a whole team. Yeah.
So let's suppose I'm working for you, right? Is it better if you give me a goal, I can't achieve? Like suppose you say, yeah, I have to score 100 tests. If I'm lucky, I might only score 80. Is it better to give me a goal I want to achieve, but I'm going to strive to do my best to meet that goal, knowing I probably won't make it? Or is it better to give me a goal that I'll make easily?
Okay. There's an art and the science behind what you just said earlier. Set a good goal, right? For me, if the goal is not challenging enough, then people will not passionate enough, or you have good people, people in your team, like very driven people. They need a good challenge problem to solve. So first, I think the goal has to be challenging enough. I typically do stage. So I have something that, well, level one is more like, well, it's something you can do, right? You put 100% effort on it, right? You're gonna achieve, right? But then I gotta do a little bit of 10, 20%, a little bit overreach, something that be harder to do. That level two. It's a little bit, okay, you have to put a lot of work on it, maybe a little bit over time to achieve that goal, right? That's more effort to put in. But then I have something that crazy enough that shoot for the moon. It kind of a goal sometimes because it's inspire people, right? But you have to manage it a little, increase the difficulty because your team need time to grow as well. So it's back to the sport, right? You maybe instead of try to win the championship, try to not eliminate the first round. Maybe that's the goal, right? But so that's the idea. I win one game. That's it.
So two-part question: have you raised any funds yet, and are you going to do any fundraising?
Yes, we got a little bit money, pre-seed money from one of the local fund. That's enough for us to build a product, do a little bit market validation. but right now I'm actually in the process of um, refocus on the operation. Maybe next year do more active fundraising. I think part of it is because during the period last year in this region, the money, cheap money is not there anymore, right? I mean, it's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of investors not put money enough in Vietnam. So we're gonna fundraising in ASEAN or even US at the next phase. That's why I try to get the team that can right skill to go to that. Yeah.
Can you tell us like how many investors you had to talk to before you got your yes?
Jesus Christ. That's what that's what happened crazy last year. People don't believe this. But we actually talked to 30, 40, at least I
Okay.
think 40,
Yeah.
at least 40. And I think that's common for all of
Yeah.
the founder. I think so. But it takes us so much time. And I found the process a little bit distraction because because the ecosystem in Vietnam for startup is still early. It's still very young ecosystem compared to Austin or Silicon Valley or Cambridge, the way I get YouTube. In here, right? I'm telling you, we got the product, we got the customer, we got paid customer. It's still not enough.
Yeah.
Right. Typically in US, it's like, well, you got easy sit down already, and people want to keep advise you for go next, right? But I think part of it in this region is, especially in Vietnam, not many VC exit successfully or already there, not yet, right? Because early, so people don't understand the whole idea of tech a little bit more times. And we in the B2B SaaS for HR tech for enterprise in this region, that's the most difficult part of fundraising. So for me, I think at this point, I want to get a little bit more money from angel investor that who can contribute to the growth of the company. I think it's more important than to get financial investor. Yeah.
So back to the Google startups. So you was actually recognized as being one of the top 20 startups in your cohort.
Yeah.
Is that like is that a big deal? Was it hard to do or like really competitive or
Well,
what was it like top 20 out of 21 startups? or was it 20 out of 1,000?
all right, man. First of all, right, in Vietnam, you have quite a lot of stuff here
Yeah,
because
there's quite a few startups
yeah,
there.
yeah, quite a lot because it's in Vietnam. You can tell like people are very entrepreneurial type
Yeah.
spirit here, right? So a lot of company here. I think the part of the reason why we in that cohort, part of it is um, for to be qualified, right? You have to be have customer. You have to use the Google Cloud. You have to be in tech side. Only few that actually meet the requirements. So, and great company in that cohort as well. You got people from medical. You got people from tech. You have people from AI, range, logistics, everything, right? So I think that cohort I like a lot because diversity. The new cohort, I think they focus more on the AI side, but I think the last cohort that I was in, you see range.
And do you still keep in touch with all the founders that you met
It's
there?
a small community.
Okay.
But again, all founders super busy, fight their own battle.
Yeah. What's some like a networking things I should be going to while I'm here? Like any networking events or
Yeah,
tech events I should go to?
quite few. Yeah,
Okay.
they have a few VC. They do get some these event going again. I think that few that I went to. I think last one they have test shots here. They have test shots like from Thai. They do the big event here. But there are few other one from Singapore. A few other fun that they do
Okay.
like a meet and greet and uh, typically right. I go to this event. I think for me lately, I try to cherry picking more. It's feeling. I
Yeah,
try.
because every you're going to every network event, you're not building your company.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a potential distraction.
Has to be a balance.
Yeah, I think that is the challenge here in this ecosystem, because in Austin, right? I remember when we had the South by Southwest. For those that not familiar, a very big event, right? A lot of staff there as well, and what happening is that you notice in more mature ecosystem, staff uses all the product, right? And they help each other to go into the bigger account, like big enterprise. And enterprise in US more open to collab with the more staff, right? In Vietnam, it's not there yet, right? I think all of the founder here still try to figure it out themselves. and they're not collab enough, right? If I feel like that is something needed, much needed in Vietnam. So for me, yeah, man, I'm at the age that I can drink more coffee than beer and wine. So I want to have more meaningful collaboration. Yeah.
So how should a company go about building a learning culture?
In a company.
Yeah, I think you talked. There's a post today. We're talking about like a company will say we want to spend money on like learning culture,
Mm.
and the ROI is not as fast as they wanted to be, and they need to stop all the money.
What like this is the thing that interesting me as well. I think because you in the HR consultant and you kind of familiar with this as well, right? It typically that a lot of company they want to build a good company learning culture because they know it's important, right? They know it's important for a company to grow. You need to be consistently grow your team. You need to basically grow the skill set of the mid management team, right? But what happening is they don't know how long it takes. They don't know how much effort it takes, right? And they don't have enough patience for it to grow our people, right? So a lot of manager they kind of business owner in Vietnam they kind of delegated to HR, right? And HR in Vietnam they're not there yet. Most of them still do like administrative work, so they are not really into the whole organization development, talent management yet. It's still early. Um, so what happened is they either delegate it to HR person or they try to buy a technology like LMS or some learning platform, right? But they don't have a process in play. They don't have a culture in play. They don't have a the ecosystem support. Then their staff never learn anything, and that's why after like 3 months, 6 months, they I don't think this can be done. So and then they just cancel it out, right? Um, yeah. I think I think you in HR field too, right? You see something like this in US.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
So how is that?
it's. I mean, I think the U.S. the first thing it cuts is you like recruiting talent, HR, like learning stuff, because they don't see the value in it, right? They don't see the money.
Hmm.
They don't see how it can be a false multiplier, so to speak, right?
That's the reason why you kind of more focus on the like a mid-size, small
Yeah,
size company now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
So
why is that though?
I mean, because the U.S. most companies with 50 few people don't have HR,
Mm,
or they might have like the office manager doing it, So I call it ad hoc HR.
mm.
Like like suppose you have a bookkeeper doing a great job. Hey, bookkeeper, great job. As a reward, you can do HR too, right?
Yeah,
And now they're instead of doing a bookkeeping 100% of the time, they're doing bookkeeping 50%, which makes it worse, and HR 50%. So it's lose-lose, right?
yeah. And that's the challenge I see that in this market as well. That a lot of accountant do HR, administrative work,
Yeah.
right? And
Office managers,
yeah,
bookkeepers.
and I think that's the missing opportunity, right? Because I keep telling people this: when you look at a company, what's a company?
Mhm.
It's a bunch of people doing something,
Yeah.
right, together and try to accomplish something. So your true asset actually people, especially in tech side, right? Because a lot of study about this as well. It's a good talent employees can outperform the regular one by four times. I think that's in McKinsey or something. They do research on this. And in the big tech company, these talents guy, they can outperform the regular one by 8 times. So what that mean? It means that if you a startup company, right? If you got the good people in, you had 10 people in your teams that outperform 40 people in the rarest company. If you got the good people in. A lot of good company now they build very small teams. But you doing that, you have to be efficient and you have the right people and right way you manage them, right? And I don't think that's been done enough. And a lot of founder they don't take that their responsibility. That's their main job. With that, you still have product, you still have to sell your solution, but recruitment, building the team, is the one of the most critical part to be a founder. And I don't think that been straight enough out there. Yeah.
So how do you do your schedule? Like I'm sure it's different every day, but what's the day in your life? Like you wake up in the morning, 5 in the morning, do yoga and like go work out, and like you like what's that day in the life of you?
Jeez. this is interesting because we had this conversation in the office, and I think me and another intern, and we talk about morning routine, right? And then we talk about, well, is it important to have morning routine? And he said that it's not important, but for me it's very critical, because for me I start every day as a new day. Whatever the problem I have the day before is not that critical. It's the new fresh start every day, every moment, right? So my morning routine always be clean up dishes, and do a walk with my baby, right? It's basically two things I do in the morning. Why I'm doing that? One, for me, when you clean dishes, is for me it's a part of meditation process, that you only focus on cleaning dishes. And for me, the metaphor from clean dishes is whatever happened yesterday, I'm cleaned up now, and I'm start fresh, right? So I'm cleaning dishes for that purpose. Start the day fresh, right? When I'm cleaning dishes, I'm actually listening to podcasts and learn something new, right? I don't listen to news. I'm actually in the morning, I'm more learning. So that's when my mind has to clear. So I start that day by cleaning dishes and listen something that beneficial. Walking with my kid actually try to give me a life purpose. I do all this stuff. I go on a hustle for be a founder, give up my well-paid job to do this company for the next generation. That's my kid, right? So those two things is how I start my day, and the rest of the day just crunching one thing after another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really have a routine, but like since I've been here, I have a rooftop where I live at. I try to get up in the morning, do some stretching, some little exercises. But for me, like if I get up at 4 or by 5 in the morning, my day's like really good, right? And if I like wake up like 6, 7, 8, well, I do still have a good day, but I just feel behind, right? I always feel behind. So if I wake up before, I feel like I'm getting ahead of the day, so to speak. If that makes any
Correct,
sense.
correct. I wake up early as well, right? I because I feel like when you wake up early, when noise is not out there, you be more focused on yourself. There's no work, there's nothing, right? You focus a lot and I feel in the morning the energy is more better in my opinion, right? And do just live a walk actually help as well, right? You don't need to do something crazy, just walk in the nature. I feel like that's help.
So what's something that right now is like really easy for you? When you first started coming, like, man, this shit is kicking my ass, right? But now you're like, man, how can I figure this out? It was so easy. But back then, it's like you kind of struggled with.
So something that I feel like easy now.
It's easy now, like, man, this piece of cake. But back in the day, when you first started, like, man, it like kind of kicked your butt. But now you're like, man,
I feel
well,
like we get hit in the butt all the times,
yeah,
man. I don't feel like, because like that's the beautiful thing about be a founder. You got new challenge every day, right? The challenge, and I think that's exciting people to join a startup with the new challenge every day. And for me, I'm still learning, right? So I'm still a lot of things I need to figure it out. But I think what I like most is that um I would say the gut change when you're facing certain change in the early day, or it's harder, right? When let's say I'm quitting my job, that's the big change. Let's say I decide to stay in Vietnam instead of go back to US, that's a big change. But looking back, I'm happy that I did that. So I'm start my own company. I pursue what I like right now. I do something meaningful in my life. That for me make that decisions very hard back then, but it's very good right now. And the second part is maybe when customers say no to me, I feel okay now.
yeah.
That's another thing. But the own way be, and I share this with some of my staff as well. Sometimes they say no to you is not the problem. Ask them why. What can I do differently? When I resolve some, I have certain feature, I have a certain support. Will you come back? Yeah. So sometimes no is not the problem for me now. No is not the problem. It's more about how you react to no is more important. Yeah.
So what needs to happen for your company to make it, whatever make it means to you? What needs to happen for your company to make it?
What do you mean by make it?
What happens to happen? What has to happen for your company to make it or be successful, whatever that means to you?
I think that's it more like my passion right now, right? I think that first of all, right, the goal of a founder is make sure that you run a efficient business, right? For me, a good efficient company is self-efficient, so you don't have to be relied on too much on the VC money when you actually simulate the growth, but you have to do it efficiently, right? So for me, that's one. That's the criteria number one, the minimum thing that you have to run your business efficiently. The second part of it is more about make the impact. Because for me, hoping the next generation or make the company more efficient is more of my personal goal and life goal, right? And for me, make it means that I can build a sustainable company that the team, the next generation of team from my company can grow the next generation of startup and efficient company and inspire the next generation of do something about the people, right? Because I think that why I say that, because I think nowadays, right, we have so much compared to when I was before, when I first go to US. Nowadays, a lot more job opportunity, a lot more well-paid job in Vietnam. But I talk to so many young people and they're so lost, right? And they're so lost and they have no clear life purpose. They don't know why they go to work for. And
I think this is a generation thing.
I would say, well, we always say, well, Gen Z is the challenge, right? But I think if you look back, they are the more challenging generation compared to our generation, my generation. I think we're in different generation, but I think that in every generation you have a rebel phase that you fight against everybody else in your 20. But then I think the Gen Z, the challenge with Gen Z actually, they have to go through COVID, they have to go through economic downturn, and 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 uh, and now they have to deal with AI, right? So they and cost of living is difficult right now. I think in US right now it's harder to afford a house right now, right?
I think in the United States, Gen Z is the first generation to expect like make less money than their parents.
Correct.
First generation who's not expected to buy a house.
Yeah, and then a lot of them have to stay with their parents right now, right? And well, for Asian that's normal, right? But for American,
Not in the States
that's
usually.
it's not normal. And I think that they have a lot pressure on themselves, and that's why when I talk to some of those young team, they you can tell, right? They have layer. I think they are different even from my generation is that they adapt technology a lot faster. They're eager to learn. They have certain passion about changing the world, like in any young generation, they always want it, right? But then the way they do it is not efficient. I think the part of it because people around them don't give them the right direction. That's why for me, they become a little bit of a lost generation because the lack of guidance, right? So for me, as the older generation, I think that our job needs to give them a better guidance, right? And the way you give them guidance, it actually give them a more fact-based guidance. I'll give you an example, right? This is funny, but I have to share with you. So most of my team member are Gen Z, so I can share this, right? So when the Gen Z working for my company, sometimes they asking for pay rise and get the pay a little bit better, right? And every year I have to deal with it. But I found it so refreshing because when I sit down with those guys, as my company, we have a tool to do a 360 review, right? So we do consistent 360 review. And when we sit down talk about promotion, we take out the report and we sit down to give a feedback and tell them, hey, these are the areas you need to improve. And that's the first part of it. But then they say, hey, but I still need to got pay a little bit better so I can afford line XYZ, right? And I tell them, right, when you asking me to give a pay rise, it means that I will expect more outcome from you, more output from you. If it's 10% more pay rise, it means that I need to get return at least 20% more from you. Are you okay with it? And if they say, yeah, I'm okay for that, I will work harder. I'm like, fine. Okay, if you want to work harder, it's good, but when you work smarter, right? What does it mean work smarter? It means that look at this area that you need to improve on and where the area that you need to be focused on to create more output, right? So when we have that conversation back and forth, right? Uh, two things happen and two different cases. One person that commit to it, like, oh, I'm gonna commit to it, I'm gonna work harder, and I'm gonna give consistent feedback for you every month, right? And we're gonna track it for 2 months, see if it's actually a performance improvement before we give you a pay rise. The one commitment from your employees. The second one is, oh, look at that. Maybe I don't need a pay rise because maybe I cannot do all the stuff. So why I share you that story? Because I think the Gen Z generation, they're actually very fact-based. You can negotiate with them, right? And when you negotiate with them, just be frank with them. Don't tell them a fuzzy story. Tell them actually what they need to work on, and be fair with them. They are very fair generation. Yeah.
Has this ever happened to you? Like a employee comes to you and says, "Hey, Van, you know, I'm doing 1, 2, 3 now. You know, I need a raise." You're like, "Dude, that's what you're supposed to be doing." So now you're telling me I'm paying you for what you're supposed to be doing. Now you want to raise, you know?
Okay. First of all, right, we all have job description, but as a startup, you know that you're asking them do multiple things, and sometimes job description mean nothing in that startup, right? So you have to be fair with them. If you say, hey, ABC is your job description, right, and I'm gonna evaluate next 3 months on that before I give you a pay rise, not fair, right? But then you ask them to do 4 and 5, it's not fair, right? So I have that conversation all the times, right? And sometimes you look at that, oh, well, maybe I don't give you 4 and 5.
And how many people you have working for you right now?
10 people.
10, okay.
Yeah. And then half of them actually the intern.
Okay.
So see how efficient they are. Because I think that the good thing about build small teams, it actually have a art around it as well. I don't think we said that enough or study enough about it, how to build a company that have a small number of people. I think that nowadays we need to start moving away from job description into become more skill based. I'll give you an example. In my company, right, employees, maybe she first hiring as HR, right, but now she have to do business development. Why is that? Because she showed that she have a skill that can be communicated effectively with HR. And I'm asking her, are you interested in like testing your skill on this area? And she said, yeah, I love to. Then you pull them, test them out. Because nowadays, right, I think the diploma, the job description doesn't work anymore because they put people in the box. And I think the Gen Z generation, part of it is they want to do something the way they want it and the way they're passionate about things. So the traditional job description, the traditional organization development, I don't think it's working anymore. You need to start looking at job-based, project-based, and pull the right people into projects and have certain timeline for certain projects, right? And after that's when you disband, you reuse people in the right projects. So you move from project to project, from objective to objective, right?
So do you think the 9 to 5 Monday or Friday work thing is like outdated now?
Yeah. I don't think I work 9 to 5. I work all the times. Is it healthy or not? That's up to debate. But if you love something that you do so much, it doesn't matter about times, in my opinion. So I'm not 9 to 5 guy. Other maybe don't agree with it, but I feel like the output during the period is important. But it's even more important, something that I'm still working on right now with my team, it actually manage everyone that we have a common goal, right? That in the end, some certain thing that we don't deliver can impact other people. And right now, I try to make sure the team understand that we have very young teams, right? Think that we play sport, right? You would think that, well, I just a 3-point shooter. I don't care about, passing the ball. You need to be on the right corner and shooting the ball. right? But no, you have to move, you have to play, you have to create space for other people, right? And dependent on other people. And I don't feel like a lot of young members they understand that yet. So I try to understand the team and individual performance, yeah, balance out.
So either 1 or 2 months ago, you were at the National University of Singapore, and you were asked, should I work for an established company, join a startup, or start my own business? Can you talk about that experience?
Say it again.
So I think a month or two ago, you were at the National University of Singapore,
Yeah.
and you asked, should you, and a student asked you, should you work for an established company, a startup, or start their own company?
Yeah. So because I have a different experience, work for big company and start my own company, right? And I think that is the big group of NUS students, one of the top school in the world, not just in Singapore. They came to our office, and most of them go to Vietnam thinking about working for a big company, right? Or find a job here in Vietnam, right? Not many people actually think about start their own company. But after that one, I kind of share my little bit of journey, like what the pro and con for each. For work for big company, it's only about stability, about climb the ladder, understand, what kind of project that you need to be working on. It depends on the industry you're in as well. But sometimes things moving slower because you're moving a big ship, right? So certain impact that you want to do that may be diluted into the whole big company, right? So they have a pro about it is that, well, you have money to do what you want to do, accomplish, but then your impact may be not there, and maybe not the recognition that you need to. On the staff side, right, it's different because, well, like I said earlier, 10 people in the team, 1% is 10% of your employees. Google lay off about 10%, and then the world is crazy, right? So that's the impact of one individual in a small startup, right? And then when you in the startup, I keep telling my team as well, if you feel like something that needs to be fixed, take initiative. Tell me that that needs to be done, and at least 80% or 90%, I will let you do it, right? So if you, that's the beauty about working for a startup. You make a real impact, but you maybe sometimes don't have the resource that you need. But when you don't have resource, you come up with creative way to solve problem, right? And I think that that's the beautiful thing about working for a startup. And I think that for young people, if you think about working for a startup or working for a corporate, depends on your preference. I've never debate both sides, but I would recommend you try both and find what fit for you, right? Before you start your own company, because I noticed that a lot of people jump into become a founder in the early right now, right? I heard some people that try to teach the high school kid to start a business. And I feel like, well, are you sure you want to teach them doing it? Right? Because not everybody built for that. I remember in high school, I was chasing girl. I don't think about business yet, right? Maybe just work at the shop or somewhere to learn about, the hard work. I think that's more important. So okay. So the key takeaway is everybody gonna be different, but you should try before. Both work for corporate for a couple of years, work for a small startup for a year. You will know that you like it or not, and then you choose. If you want to become a founder, at least work for a startup first. Because when you work for a startup, you will know how hustle it is. And a lot of my team members they work with for me and say like, at first I thought I will start a startup, work with you. I'm like, maybe not. And they're like, because they see how hustle I am. It's not easy, right? People only look at founder like, rock star or something because own a fallacy around it. Big money spent entertainment. I feel like that's the wrong thing. You have to build a right picture for the younger people, what they need to commit in. Will you ready to eat instant noodle every day, drinking coffee and eat bánh mì at lunch and skip lunch sometimes? Just work because you love it so much.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know what the company, what company called PitchBook is?
Pick book.
PitchBook.
Oh, that is like for pitching or?
No, they're coming out of Seattle. They're worth $1 billion. They got acquired by Morningstar,
Mm.
and basically like all the VC information on there, right?
Mm.
And so it's $1 billion company, but people don't, I just know this guy, I know somebody worked there. So the first 4 years, the guy who owns it, I can't remember his name, and him, his wife, and two kids, they moved out of the big house and they lived
Mm.
like a one-bedroom apartment for 4 years, right?
Mm.
And like people don't realize the level of commitment you need to make that, like make it right.
Mm. So sorry, my team. See, that's another thing, guys. When you be a founder, you it's hard to do a long podcast, but you have a bunch of email over here. So you say about Facebook?
Yeah, yeah. So just like this guy, he had a nice house, making a lot of money, and he moved his wife and two kids in a one-bedroom apartment for 4 years, right?
Mm.
I mean, because you're a founder, it's not you, just it's your wife, your husband, your friends, like that has to be a whole commitment, right?
Yeah. So I think that people need to this is funny because if you need to looking at statistic around like how many founder got divorced, you will be surprised, right? It's number very high, by the way, because it's the commitment, not to the founder, but the family, the kid, and are you willing to do all that stuff when you have family? And I have family and kid right now, and my wife is very supportive. Right. Sometimes you go home and you're frustrated and you stress, you have a support there, then you feel like, well, maybe I need to try a little bit harder. And sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I don't know how I can do this anymore. It's like, are you sure about this? You don't want to suffer all this stuff, right? And then sometimes you need somebody just have remind you why you're doing this, and that's your partner. And I think that um, as a founder, especially the one that have families, that have kids, um, a lot of things that you need to think before you commit to the journey, right? Uh, so yeah, it's not for everyone.
So how have you gone about finding your customers, right? You have a marketing plan, you do Facebook ads, just like word of mouth. How have you got your customers so far?
Okay, because like first of all, if you look at it, my company right now, we have some certain big company in our profile, in manufacturing, in logistics, in banking. So we have big company in our client base. But then how we get them, right? I think it's part of it is I think the solution that we offer in the market is it makes sense for a lot of business owner, because what we try to solve is that because company they spend a lot of money on training, right? But then they never have measurements around return on investment, right? So typically that's the first thing they cut, right? And that's that full cycle of like who need to be go learning and why they need to go learning. After learning, will they perform? Will they impact the business? That's what the smarter solution is about. So when we talk to business owner, when we talk to HR director, they understand that, right? So that's how we get some certain client. We join some certain event. We be I be a speaker at certain like webinar and events to create awareness, right? So those how I get the big account, right? But then is it an efficient way of growing smarter? I don't think so, because it's too big company. And for a startup, I feel I want to grow faster, right? So mid-size company, right market like US could be a next step when I need to be more focused on.
And
Yeah.
you mainly deal with enterprise size companies for your customers?
I'm sorry.
You mainly deal with enterprise
Yeah, yeah.
companies? Okay.
So in Vietnam,
And does it matter the demographic? Does it matter if it's manufacturing or tech?
so we look at our customer profile, right? In Vietnam, if you're asking everybody in this market, you will see like B2B SaaS underperforming, not just Vietnam, South ASEAN market. A part of it is people still get you to the enterprise solutions. Think about like US when they have SAP, they have Oracle. They still there, right? And Vietnam still that kind of thing. But do they have money for SAP and Oracle? Certainly not. So what happening is there are a lot more company in Vietnam that use open source to create some certain ERP system or certain platform similar like what we do or part of what we do. Is that a lot of buyer are still in that mindset, right? So I think the fact that now in Vietnam has Netflix, has Spotify, their own subscriptions business for B2C for consumer, that actually help educate the market that, well, you can do subscription based, it's more efficient, it's cheaper, and you don't need a lot of team member to manage it. um, so I give you an example, a story. uh, So one of our client that we talked recently, originally they want to build some sort of like a learning platform, right? And they basically think about put like money hiring a tech team, do a software, customized software for them, right? I have to talk to them in term. I have to basically do a lot of education for them, right? Is that I have to talk to their HR, talk to their IT team, educate them about the difference between the SaaS model and enterprise, what pro and con for each, right? And then I have to propose to them that, hey, if you still want to commit resources for big software customized job, right? That's a 3 or 4 year capex, right? So that's a lot of commitment, right? Uh, so why don't you using our platform for a year first? See if it's the right solution for your company, right? If after 1 year and you don't see the SaaS is the right solution, you can go back to enterprise. So that's the example. Sometimes you have to educate the customer a lot about the difference between the SaaS model and the enterprise in this market. I think the market gonna get there. Because I see this in US, and I know Asian people. Asian people, I love cheap but efficient solution. So we're gonna slowly get there, right? But when we get there, it's gonna be a big market for SaaS. That's why a lot of VC right now they're looking for SaaS in this region. But I think they need to set more better expectation for this market. That's all. Yeah.
Can you talk about the process you went through as far as like getting to your pricing model?
What the process like get your pricing model? Okay, so typical. We are still a very typical B2B SaaS. So we do a user space. So we have a different account for free sign up, just test it out, and then you go into a package around 150 people, and then a 600. So we have different tier for different number of users. The reason why I package it that way is because we noticed that in Vietnam, specifically in Vietnam, right? A company roughly about 100 people, when they actually think a lot about training and development. Different industry can be different, right? But I noticed that when you hit certain size, because some of our clients in the 1,000+ employees, right? The mindset change. It's lower to adapt technology as well. So for me, it's more about the customer need, right? Number of employee they want, what kind of industry they're in. That we have a certain pricing strategy around it. Yeah.
So AI, do you think AI is going to take over HR, or AI is just going to be another tool for HR people to use?
AI. Now we talk about AI now. Okay. So your question, AI will take over the people.
No, like will AI like completely change over HR? Like all HR people go away, AI they basically run HR, or will AI just be another tool that HR people can use?
I would bet on this, right? I think if you look at the Gartner report around like how HR priority in 2024, AI actually one of the top priority because part of it is the business strategy. That they're looking for AI as a tool to transform their workforce. The HR team don't know what tool to use yet at this point, so they behind the game. Right? Will they be replaced by AI? I don't. AI expose a risk for on the job, not just HR. Right? Developer they're more concerned about it than HR. In my opinion, because AI can do a lot more coding now than the HR related. Because HR still do a lot of people. You have to have that interview, that people connection. You still can use AI as a tool to vetting or make your job more efficient, right? But you still need a person to support. So I see a lot of AI tool, like even in some of stuff here, they do like AI for recruitment, for even interview, right? But you still need a person to validate. So it just make it more efficient. So in short term, I don't think it's being replaced. I think it's more about HR need to be up their skill to adapt more AI related tool for the AI company that working on the field like us or you. I think that That is more about, well, we use AI to solve some certain fundamental, right? That make HR more efficient, right? But for decision making, we cannot use AI for that yet. I don't think we should, because it's a tool. It the push head and sword, right? It can cut your company if you're not efficient.
So Van, you already talked about your company some, but can you go more detail, like how and why you started your company, what you focus on now, what your future vision is for your company?
How I start a company now?
Like why you started, how you started, what you focus on right now, what your like your big dream vision for this going into the future?
Well, that's basically three questions in one go, man. All right, so how I got started? Well, I always passionate about the people, how people learn, how people grow. I think part of it is when I was in US. I think I'm lucky enough, and I I got a lot of good mentor along the way. Take a lot of formal training as well, because like a guy from Vietnam working away field, how that work, right? I had no technical background on oil and gas. So have to go through a lot of training, a lot of learning. But along the way, a lot of good people helped mentor me as well. And I think that whole process is I never really think too much about it until I in Vietnam. And when I returned to Vietnam, I noticed a lot of my childhood friends. One the guy that very close friend, right? But when I return, I don't feel connected with him anymore. Part of it, I think like, well, we grow apart. That's normal. But you also look at him like, well, he was so smart. He was top of the class, but he's stuck. A part of it, maybe he never got the lucky opportunity that in the right environment and right mentor that he can achieve what he's supposed to be, you know? And I think that's one of the moment that actually make me think a lot about this, right? I need to do something about it. But when COVID hit, that actually changed me to make that final decision. That during that period, I have to manage quite a lot of people, and I have to make certain decision about let go certain number of people, right? To be because adapt to the market. When you in that side of the table, you make a lot of decision about other people. That could be their family member. That could be the people that you have meal with. So you know a lot about their personal life. And you in HR, right? It's very difficult conversation, but you have to make decision, right? So what fair, right? And I look back, I look at that period. I thought, well, but I don't have a tool for me to make decision which one I have to let go and why, right? And that's a kind of a working moment for me. Like, okay, maybe I need to do something about it for real, right? That's why I quit my job, even though my company want me to go anywhere else. Offer a lot of different options, but I still want to do it because I think if we don't do this, I don't think anyone will be interested in doing this because the people related, HR related stuff is very slow and it's not kind of VC investment type, fast growing. But is it worth the battle? I think yes, because if nobody do about it, I think that the AI will take over a lot of work and we have even more layoff ahead of us. A lot more lost generation of Gen Z that don't know what to do about it. So if anyone listen to this, I feel like, well, if you think about a good idea to start, maybe do something about it, how people learn and grow. Right? I think that's much more needed. Right? So that's how I get started. What's the focus right now? So last year or so, we basically go through the very typical startup phase, right? Because I'm training on this, so I know that it have to be typical. You do market validation, and then you fundraising, and you do by the book, right? You basically go through the book, right? Step by step, right? But then the reality hits you. The money is not there. The VC money is not there. It's not easy to disperse money. It's not just us, all of the founder have a challenge same. And it's not growing fast as you can because, well, it's a people related, thing is low. A lot of things are not really you. It's more about the company. So I noticed that I need to pivot, right? I need to pivot. It's a reaching for me. Everything 3 year period, you have to pivot if it not go right direction. And the pivot moment for me is more about, well, are we in the right market? Right? Is it Vietnam the right market for it? Right? And do we have the right team member to accomplish what I want to do? Right? So the first part of the question in Vietnam, in my opinion, for what we do is still early. Right? A part of it is because it's still a low cost, people cost economy. So when you want to market some certain product like ourselves, you have to be in very high performance people, related. Like we talk about sport, right? Why LeBron James got so much money? Why, like a kid out of college pay so little that like you play for like college football that basically no pay, right? So there was a reason behind that, right? Because I truly believe that a good performance, high talent people that can actually make a huge impact on the business. So um, Vietnam is not there. So I think that a market like Singapore, when a lot people pay 3 times more than Vietnam salary in mark, US five times more than the Vietnamese. So you have to look at where the market is. Then okay, it make more sense for us to go after certain industry only, and make more sense for us to go after certain market only. So I think that that's the pivot. And the second part of it is the right teams. So I have to get the right team with right experience that know how to do it. We build the product already, so now it's more about how to get more customer and solve real problem. Yeah. So
And then how about the future vision for the company?
so
You want to be like the #1 learning company in the United States, #1 in the world, like certain market share, or you just want to make value impacts or something?
right, the two things. Like I think I said a little bit that earlier. First of all, I have to be efficient company, right? Number one market in US is still what, less than 10% share. How much cornerstone demand right now, right? This is the like biggest company that doing this kind of thing that we're doing. Our Workday, right? How much market share is that? Not, not enough. And there's so many untapped market out there, right? I think the fact that if you look at this and you just think about market share, it's not the right way of thinking about it, right? I think about is for me, right? First of all, from an investor standpoint, I still make sure that the company going to be profitable, going to be pay out for all of the investors that commit to us. That's one goal. The second goal is the team. I need to grow my team that can be efficient, right? And the customer base that we're going to hope, right? I feel like the impact is there because you in HR field, like one of us can impact a company of 100,000 people. One decision of HR can be influenced that many people. So if I want to impact, I impact on the HR team that they can impact the next wave of people, right? Because I myself cannot impact 1,000 people, but I can impact 1,000 HR or HR professional or people related, right? Or business owner. They can make 1,000 or 1,000,000 people. For me, that's more impact. That's what my dream is about. Yeah, make the real impact in this world. Yeah.
So earlier I asked you what's about Vietnam you the people around the world knew.
Mm.
So follow-up question, what's something about the States you wish people in Vietnam knew? Like what's some of the people something about America you wish people here in Vietnam knew about America?
What about Vietnamese? Know about America?
Yeah, what's something about America you wish people in Vietnam knew
Knew or don't know?
about America?
Oh, well, I think we have a little bit of this on the call when we go back here, right? I think is that for me, even for me, when I first go to America, for me, US is California, this boy, like surf boy on this stuff, like party, Hollywood type, or New York, like finance hustle type, or West Texas, where I was a cowboy. So I end up in the West Texas type of kind of cowboy, Midwestern type of people. But I think that's very typical, right? I think nowadays, even in US, things change. A lot more Americans actually go into the regions and work and learn. I see a lot of American friends here as well, and I think that America become more open to the world. That's the right direction. And I think that for the Vietnamese, the thing about America, we always think about American dream. And I believe that I actually pursue my American dream. And I truly believe that is something great about America. Is that when there you're working hard, you still can be benefit. People always complain about America, but then you go to another country, you will see
Yeah.
how hard it is.
Yeah.
Right. Until you go somewhere else, you will know and appreciate what you have in America. Um, the land of free, right? And I feel like that for me still true to myself. I still go back to US once a while, see my friend, and I think that if a certain company in Vietnam or in this region that want to go to US, I think opportunity is there. People more acceptive about startup solutions, about SaaS. It's there, but it's the very different challenge. But I think I'm gonna get there.
Yeah. So man, what do you do for fun, or what are some of your hobbies?
My hobby, uh, wow, I feel I work too much lately. But what I do in the free times, typically, like I said, I play with my kid the weekend. I feel like when you do something, you put 100% on it. So this is something that I want to be balanced as well. Is that I used to work all the times, right? But when I have kids, it changed me. I need to be more balanced, and I feel like this is something that I want to send out the message to all of the founder that have kids. You know, the mom or dad out there. I feel like your startup is your baby, but you also have another baby. So you want to make sure that you balance out and treat everyone 100% focus. So when I'm at work, I try to focus 100% at work. And at home, I want 100% of my family. So that's why I try to be balanced out more. So yeah, I enjoy time with my kid, play with him, teach him things here and there. That's something that I like to do. I feel like people always talk about this, like what you do for fun, and feel like you are a workaholic. But I'm truly believe that if you actually do something that you love so much, and this startup is something I love so much, it actually is I do for fun as well, right? The new problem every day, coaching the young member to become the next manager. For me, that's fun. Well, listen to podcast, watching dictionary, documentary. That's something I do for fun. Read book. That's something I do outside work. Yeah.
So next month there's a big holiday in Vietnam. I think it's called Tet.
Mm.
Can you tell people what actually Tet is? Like it's like a combination of New Year's Eve, Christmas. Like it's like your big holiday, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about what that is?
Oh trời ơi. I'll speak with me now, right? But that, right? So the good thing, I'm not a dead guy, so I'm more like a Christmas guy, right? But I can tell you what it's about, right? That is, if you look at it, it's like a Lunar New Year, right? So Lunar New Year actually celebrated by most of Asian. So you got, I think the Chinese do it as well. I think the Japanese and Korean they have certain ceremony about it as well. In Vietnam we call Tết, right? But each country do it a little bit different. So in Vietnam, typically people do is you think about Christmas, but in a month. So that's how it is, right? Christmas typically like what 2 days, 3 days, but that is like a month festival in Vietnam.
And like everything shuts down, right?
Most of the things shut down, but you still have hotel, you still have restaurants still open. They only close 2 days like Christmas, but people sell like because typically it's happening in Vietnam is a lot of people go to big city for work, right? So during that Tết period they go home. So most of people take like 2 weeks off, right? And in certain province they actually have ceremony stuff like 2 3 weeks. So you lost the whole month
Yeah.
typically, right? Uh, but yeah, it's a great time to be in Vietnam. You learn a lot about the culture. People chill, people eat food, drink. Yeah, very festive. We don't do a lot of vacation holiday, not like US or Singapore, but in during Tết we actually own in. Crazy times. You're gonna be here in Tết,
Yeah. Yeah.
man. You're gonna enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. It's crazy. Make sure that you go with some local friends.
Hmm.
Um, go and enjoy like regular Vietnamese food.
Yeah.
You know, Vietnamese food is excellent, right? They have range. So you go from north to south Vietnam, food that very diverse, right? It's not burger.
So for your company, do you have any like upcoming product releases you're working on or anything you can tell us about?
Okay, so from wow, you really jump like a sharp turn there, my friend. From that into like work related. Okay, so upcoming product release. I think for us right now, because we build a product already, right? The key product that most people use right now, the learning platform, where we do a lot of gamification, a lot of AI build on top of it. So that's one already kind of in the market, right? But the other one that we're working on right now is related to more like the appraisal tool. Right now we do like competency management and uh, you know, like a typical 360 review and all the appraisal tool, right? But the problem with the market right now is that the way they do appraisal too boring, or the data is not consolidated enough that you can actually make a meaningful data and fit it to make decision. So what we do with that is that one, we try to make the appraisal process become less painful and easier for people to deploy, right, from administrative work, but also from the people that do take the appraisal, that they can get the data feedback faster and recommend. Okay, so what we do with the data, we do that after like 360 review, right? Typically, you can identify your gap skill, right? But most of companies don't do anything about it. So our system actually recommend what training they need to do. Next step going to be who going to coach them, who going to mentor them. We try to work some sort of AI to help them be a mentor, automatic as well. So that's certain thing that we're working on. Yeah.
And all your software development, you have like internal tech people working
Correct.
on, right?
Correct.
So how do you like, and do you consider yourself a tech person or not tech person or kind of both?
Yeah, I think even from the early day that I'm studying both. I'm studying business and system engineering. So I do both. So I do a little bit of programming in my early day. That's why you see my title early day is like technical or something,
Yeah.
technical marketer or whatever. But that's what I did before. So I always understand the technology side. But actual programming, I have to have an other developer. Yeah.
So like, how do you like manage like the product roadmap? You know, like how do you manage the product roadmap, bugs, all that technical stuff? How do you make sure that it's all like on par?
That part of the when I was in US, that part of my job as well, working with product line, right? So I'm also do a lot of this stuff and talking to engineer as well. But the process is there, like on the agile process, on this way that you manage your team is there. For me, I think it's more about you have to put the right people in that you can trust, and you have a process in place to check people around, and you have to ask the right question at the manager, right? For me, that's more of my job. um are we perfect? No, but I think that the best thing about us is that um we build a team that I think I'm lucky. I think most of my team members are very self-managed. They just need a very good engineer as well, right? That's what I keep telling my team is that, well, I appreciate them a lot, but I know that if they quit the company, they go work somewhere else, they got paid 3 times. And you know, one of my staff actually, you know, this is funny when you feel like you do the right thing. Some of my team member they commit to us like 3 or 4 years, right? And recently some member like, hey, Advan, I need to maybe find something else to do and to learn a little bit more, and that's natural for me. Is when you build a company is good, sometimes your employee actually grow faster than your company, and that's normal, right? And then sometimes they grow too fast, and you got the right people, they're eager to learn, so they want to learn something new. It may be personal, you feel like heartbroken, but from business it makes sense. So I let those guys go and learn some from other business as well, but they're still in touch and they still working part-time for us, right? So it means that if you do it right, you let them fly, right? And then go out there and learn more, but they still involved, right? Because one day maybe they can come back, but that's the future, right? But let the door open some certain people. Yeah.
So you brought a point I want to follow up on, right? Talk about the points of figuring out or knowing how to ask the right question. I think so many people, whatever the background profession, startup founder, business person, they don't ask the right question. Talk about the process of knowing how to ask the right question.
Depends on what context, right? If a product related or it's a business related, it's different, right? I think that okay, if it's business is easy because it's like me deal with every day, right? It's but I typically what the question that I try to ask the team is okay, always with why. I think why is the most important question when you do anything, right? Why we doing this? Right? Why we approaching customer this way? Why we try to build this feature this way? What is your logic behind it? When you start asking them the question why and listen, right? As a good manager, you need to listen more. As a founder, you even need to listen even more, right? I know I try to control myself a lot, but when you ask why, you will see the logic behind it, right? And sometimes their logic may be different from yours, right? Maybe their solution can be different from yours, but there are a lot of different ways to solve a problem, right? So typically what I do, I'm ask why first, and I'm observe, listen to why they're doing that way. Um, if there's certain thing that I feel like potential risk, I will ask specific question about that. Like, do you consider about this? Right? Do you consider this a potential crash or something other that we build? You consider that? If you say yeah, then yes, good, right? And then you ask a little bit, drill a little bit deeper. But if not, it means they don't consider that. And then the next question, like, well, maybe you need to go back and look at why. Right, so it's more about a bit deeper. So it's more with me like why, and then I go into their logic and go a little bit deeper on what they accomplish, and you look go through the logic of how they accomplished with that, right? Yeah.
So let's say someone's watching this podcast, right? And they're like, man, I want to work for a van. I want to work for this company, right? What would they need to do, like to reach out to you, like kind of? I don't want to use the term impress you, but what someone needs to do to say, hey, for you to give them a chance.
Man, I'm open for everyone, right? I mean, first of all, right, connect me on LinkedIn. I think I use LinkedIn more than anything else now, and I think that the best way to reach out, connect me on LinkedIn. I think that if you can share my LinkedIn with the audience, that's good as well. And yeah, and we always have like an open recruitment kind of thing, right? For me, it's more about when you do a startup, I feel like you need to consistently recruit,
Yeah.
right? And you always recruit. It's like always fundraising, always recruit, always build team.
I mean, you've heard the thing like, we saw ABC always be closing. I believe ABR always be recruiting.
Yeah. I think so, and I feel like it's somehow some way that people keep thinking that always recruitment is a bad thing because they feel like the company is not sustainable enough and they have high turnover or something. That's why they recruit all the times. But for me, that's wrong. If you're looking at high growth company like Google, they always recruit, they always have job posting, right? And recruitment process is not a one interview; it's a continuous 3 or 4 different rounds, and you create a pool, right, of talents that when you need it, right? It's just like sport. You always have that continuous recruitment, academy that have potential that one can go up to, playing professional. But if you don't do it in the early day, where the talent?
And also, I think people mess with recruiting. I think people think recruiting is, okay, I have a job to still go recruit. It's also like, like we went to this coffee shop, man, this young lady has great customer service skills,
Yeah.
or maybe go somewhere else, man, this guy like kind of impressive, right? And then you connect with them, you learn about them, and maybe you have a job for them later on, maybe you don't. But I think it's like you have to have this pool of talent, right?
Correct. And I'm telling you, you surprised like young kid nowadays, and I feel like they are very different. I think some team member in my company are 19 years old, right? And they smart and they have
Yeah, you're
witty
right.
and
You're
they.
like, you doing what at 19? I was like chasing girls
I'm not
and
chasing girl,
smoking
man.
drugs and like doing like stuff I should have done. You're like,
Yeah.
you're doing what? Like,
Like
you know how to code AI? What the hell is going on
I'm
here?
telling you, they're crazy. Like some of them is so crazy. Like one of my new intern, he's gonna come in soon. He actually DJ and I could talk about him. It's quite interesting, right? And I'm kind of when I interview him, there are a lot of things on my mind. Like, is it the right fit or culture, everything. I test out. I tell you more later. But I think the thing about him is that he's very young guys in the 20, but then he have multiple business already. Right. And I said, what you want to do for this? Like you in the artist type of guy, right? You do DJ, you have DJ in business, and you have like agency to do event. You have all the crap already. Why you want to work for HR tech company? And the way he answers, I found interesting is that, well, I want to see one day I want to run my own fund. I want to see different way of people doing it. I'm interested in what you guys do because you do people related and you do like data related, which is something that I don't think I have experienced done that before. 20 something years old,
Yeah.
man. I'm like,
it's crazy to me,
it's
right?
crazy.
There's no, I was 19, 20, like, man, I could have barely pick up, set of clothes out to work for the day.
Yeah, and I think that we need to give credit for the Gen Z a lot more. They more focused and more hungry, and I feel like we just need guidance. I really think we just need.
One thing I give them credit too for is like all the mental health stuff they do, right? The mental health days, like I give them credit for that too. Now, don't get me wrong, like you can't have a mental health day every day, you know, like not every day, but I give them credit for the mental health stuff they do, right? I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think part of it is I think that and this is more about I feel like we need to give them a room to kind of be creative and with their own way. I think another thing that we need to kind of educate or help them is more like things need to be earned, right? I remember the early day when I was in US as an immigrant, it's not easy, man. I mean, it's well, English not my first language, and work in marketing is like crazy. Oil and gas, fuel, it's like one of the worst of the worst. I jump in, and I feel like in the early day, I need to earn things. I feel like that's something that we need to teach the younger generation is that, well, because things come to them very easy, right? The money, the fame, everything comes to them too easy. I think that the thing that you help them is working hard and love what you do, right? And actually try to, you know, honing on your skill, because I think it's so easy nowadays that you can Google and search and you call yourself an expert on certain thing, but the level of detail, the in-depth analysis on and understand the topic is not there anymore, and people don't patient enough to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I feel like we need to go back to the fundamental, right? Helping people to love what they do, and I don't think that's enough out there.
That's one of my pet peeves actually when someone says they're expert, like, okay, like I'll do an example. Like if you're like, let's suppose you did HR recruiting for like a manufacturing company. Are you really an HR expert or you're an expert on recruiting for manufacturing, right?
Correct.
So you're telling me you're HR expert on every single thing of HR, payroll, benefits, everything, right? And drives me batshit crazy. People call themselves an expert in anything, right?
Yeah.
Are you really like?
Yeah, I guess that as well. And I think that's helping in this market. Remember earlier, I'm saying that in US, you maybe have A, B talents. In here, you maybe have C, D, F talents that basically go from US to Vietnam and claim themselves in the B, right? It's just like you go to you big fish in small pond, right? I mean, that's what a lot of people do in Vietnam. And I think that there was certain thing we had to be careful for when you claim you're expert, right? Especially in training, that's what is something that we do. That in Vietnam, it's not enough body to do a good quality control on training, right? What happened is that a lot of people claim themselves expert, but they are not expert. They claim themselves a trainer and certain thing, but they're not certified for it, right? So there's certain thing that we have to be super clear and careful about. That's why as Smarter, what I try to do beside the platform, I actually focus on helping connect the right expert from US, from other more developed country to Vietnam, right? Maybe you can do a hybrid consultant. Maybe you can be part of a project that we gonna consult some certain company. But I feel like, well, we're gonna help you vetting the right expert, right? You can still live in Seattle, but you can support the people here in Vietnam through a conference call. But I have to vetting if you actually expert, right? So that's a kind of my goal, right? Because I think if we just limit ourselves to the talent in Vietnam right now, we will never be able to accomplish what Vietnam set up to be.
So next, I want to talk about your logo real fast. So is that like a tree on your logo?
Yeah,
Can you
man.
talk about talk about that story, like the background of that?
Oh, this is an interesting story. So when you look at this, that people have a different way look at this, and that's intentional, right?
So
So
I'm guessing is it like a tree, like mind mapping, something like
mm,
that?
okay, so think a tree mind mapping. Okay, good. That's the one way.
Am I on the right path or am I right?
You're on the right path.
Okay.
You're on the right path. All right. So when I do this logo initially, right? There's two things you look at this. One is yes, it's the tree because we focus on people, tree applying, growing people. It's need patient, like growing a tree is that's something that's why the tree, right? The second part of it is if you look at it, it's actually a light bulb.
Hmm.
It's a light bulb. Now I'm talking about it, you see a light bulb, right? Because it's the sparkling light inside of a bulb, light bulb, right? And then it's draw the tree, right? So what it meant is, well, it's a good idea. It's smarter. It's a better idea. It's smarter idea, right? So it's the light bulb represent for that in good idea. It's the sparkling because it's the connecting people to other people, right? And it's a tree because related to the people. So one day maybe redesign a little bit, but that's the concept of the logo, right?
So when I first saw this, saw a tree, but now you see a light bulb. Now I see the light bulb. I don't see a tree.
See, I'm telling you, that's it. Beautiful it is.
Yeah. Now I
Yeah,
see the light bulb. I don't see a tree anymore. I just see, yeah.
yeah.
So Van, is there anything else I should ask you that I didn't ask you yet or anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, man. I don't know how long we've been doing this already.
I'm like, well, if you don't count the breaks we had, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, like we cover most of the topic already. I think that the maybe you asked me a lot of questions, but I like to ask you some questions as well.
Okay.
If it's possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we both in HR tech, and I know that you want to do a little bit of AI related to HR as well.
Mhm.
So you asked me about like how I think about AI and HR.
Mhm.
How about you? What do you think about it?
I mean, I think AI is at the bottom, right? So to speak, the genes at the bottom. So if you're HR, any kind of company, I think you have to integrate AI some kind of way, right? You have to use it in like a sustainable, good way, like you can't just say, you know, I'm firing my 10 people and replace with one AI model, right? I mean, I definitely aim to use those too, right? Like example, one thing I would do in my company is like, suppose a customer asks me, hey, Kevin's HR, how do I do X, Y, Z? We'll pull from Department of Labor, SHRM, all these different resources using an AI model and get them the best answer, right? Um, yeah, I mean, worst case, I mean, only worst case scenario, people might see best case scenario, yeah, like AR robots doing everything, and then like we have like AR robots doing all the jobs, like the universe-based income comes in. Do we want to do that, And even like Pose does Pose does a aura world walker, right? I mean, obviously you had a robot doing it, AR robot, it's more safer. That person doesn't get potentially killed or hurt, but what's the purpose, right? What's the purpose of living, right? Do you really want like I don't know, smoke dope and drink bourbon all day long in your West Texas lawn, right? Some people do, right? Like me, I'd go batshit crazy, right? I just think there's all these societal problems, and I just think government across the world is not ready for it, right? Like no, okay. Like example, like in the States of maybe a year ago, and I'm sure you saw this for like all these tech people went like the testified in front of Congress, you know, and like what? Like one guy asked Mark Zuckerberg, "How do you make money? Ads. Like how do you make money off ads? Right? They had no clue, no concept, right? Like there's one senator who's like he kept on insisting that the CEO of TikTok was Chinese. Like, sir, I live in Singapore all my life, and it's like, yeah, I think government, these United States are so far behind, like,
Yeah.
the regulations.
I think that the yes, I don't think that the AI is not a something. But I always think about AI even when the early day of my idea, right? Even back in US.
And not to cut off through AI too, like, like who's like coding the AI, like how do you make sure it's ethical,
Correct.
all that kind of stuff, right? Because you have a piece of shit coding it, you can have a piece of shit AI code.
Correct. It's just a tool, right? In my opinion, there's certain phase it go through, but I think it hit the point that it make AI. I think finally they at the point that they know how to monetize AI. So that's why you see the hype.
AI has actually been around for a long
It's been
time.
around why, right? And I only want to do some sort of AI related to HR only, right? Even when they're back in Houston, Austin, talk about personalized learning. That's something that had to be AI solve the problem. But it's so costly to do AI back then, right? Your own model. But nowadays they make things so easy to do
Yeah.
that. And I think that it's opened a lot of opportunity. But I also think that regulation needs to be done
Mm,
because now people figured out how to making money with it.
mm,
And when a lot more money pull into something, it could
mm.
be a potential
Yeah.
problem if lack of regulation. And I think this is we at the point that we need to be better conscious about how to regulate AI.
Yeah.
For us, we working in AI for HR.
Mm,
I think that area is the area that we need to be more ethical,
mm.
more regulated, in my opinion. The reason is we actually impact the real person in their career, in their pay, you know, and their family member. I think that the people that on the podcast, that your fan that actually in the HR field and AI field, I feel like we need to be more conscious about what we build. And we need to be more ethical about what we're going to do with the AI and data, which is something critical. And I feel like that not been done enough.
Yeah, like I was a data though. And another
Yeah.
thing about HR, people don't realize that HR is the only business folks that touches you across the field. Like HR is going to touch from recruiting to time you leave, right? Like
Mm,
you might work in marketing and never like deal with someone in operations, right?
mm.
Like if you're HR, you're going to deal with every employee in your company,
Correct.
some kind of way, like
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, you know. And another thing about AI, so I'm gonna tie in. So we're at Earth3C. Earth3C, they invest in climate companies, right? No people realize about AI is all the energy consumptions. I think Microsoft this about like three mile nuclear island for
Yeah.
they're gonna stop nuclear 3 mile nuclear island. Like, oh shit, like okay. Like you don't realize the amount of energy used for AI data storage, all that kind of stuff,
Correct.
right?
And you think about the energy consumption, the waste. We just see that the problem, right? We always see things on the surface,
Mm-hmm.
and people try to rough
Everything
everything.
has a cost.
Yeah, yeah. And it costs us not just from resources standpoint, but also costs us from environment
Mm-hmm.
standpoint as well,
Yeah,
right? Um, where on did electric go,
yeah,
right? Uh, I feel like we never talk about now we talk about people impact. So there are a lot of things and then policy impact. There's so much thing that can be
yeah,
impact on the AI. But in my opinion, uh, the way the thing going on right now is not a hype around this whole thing
mm,
because it's the money, right? I
yeah,
mean, it's the money game. You see a lot of company that got pulled into some sort of a
mm,
funding and do all of
yeah.
this stuff. I think it's we never learn from our mistake or something.
No,
I
no.
got that feeling, right?
Like me, I actually really nuclear energy is a good way to do energy, right? It's really safe. I think, of course, when it goes bad, it goes bad.
Yeah,
But like, can you imagine being like in the town around 3 Mile Island and you find out they're gonna start the nuclear reactor up again? Like, can you imagine like you're gonna what? You
yeah,
remember what happened like 30 years ago? Are
yeah,
you insane right now?
yeah, yeah. So I think maybe hopefully that some of your audience in US start think about this as well because I think America is ahead of a lot of
Mm,
country and they still right. And I think that but this whole game is challenging it because you see that a lot more big company in US driven this innovation. They drive in this,
yeah,
right? And that whole ecosystem start growing. You think about like I always look at old ecosystem like a forest,
mm,
right? At first, like, well, don't know how this whole AI thing grow, and we don't know how this tree gonna grow.
yeah,
But all of a sudden, this thing is duplicated, and this grows so fast, and it take over a lot of things, right? The forest, it take over even the people house, only crap,
mm,
right? So how can we actually have a set law around this? Is the key.
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's challenging.
A
Very
lot
challenging.
of people, I think they don't plan things out. Like in supposedly California, they want all the cars to be electric by I think 2035, right?
Mm.
But they don't have the infrastructure, right? Like last week, they asked people don't charge your cars up because the power grid can't handle it, right?
Yeah, man, it's
And
gonna hit
yeah,
them.
and
Yeah.
then like I don't know how true this is. I saw this clip from Landman
Yeah.
where he said like it would take the United States 30 years to have enough stuff for every car to be electric, right?
Oh,
It's a TV show, so I don't know if it's true or not,
I got.
but it kind of makes sense, right?
Mm, yeah, I mean, it's well, now we talk about this whole thing. It's strange, but even with like because we're in this like earth venture, so they
Mhm.
talk a lot about green stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is something that I feel very passionate about as well. Uh, I think that we in the generation that had a lot more. than any previous generation, right? But we are most irresponsible generation as well. So there was a documentary in Netflix that I watched lately called By Now. I don't know if you're watching that one yet.
Never seen it yet. No.
That's a new one. I think it came out like 2 weeks ago or something. But they talk about like how Nike, Apple, few more other brands that try to Amazon that create a habit that people buying stuff, right? And it's never science behind all this stuff. And we know this, right? That the hook model that making people buy stuff, right? But I when as the product owner, sometimes you just think about your own product. You don't see the impact of behind it, right? I give you an example. In that one, they talk about Apple phone, right? It's why you have to change your phone every year or every 2 years.
I'm guilty. I do it
Yeah,
every year.
a part of it is because in the technology they have certain thing that after a certain period, you cannot access anymore. It's slow down. It's the firmware, whatever. Right? You have to throw your phone and buy a new one. But that's not stop there, right? They talk about like, well, Apple even blocking people to prepare the phone because they want you to buy a new one, right? And then you think about like what happened with the phone after they throw it away. Where all this waste it go into Asia and Thailand and Vietnam. So you see the full cycle of this whole waste. We just never learn about how much wasteful we are. And I talked to my wife the same thing the other day, the whole concept about buy multiple clothes for no reason. And my wife is very good at it. I'm horrible. She's very good at it. And I think that we become so much consumed on certain thing that we don't appreciate the good thing is one.
Yeah, like people don't realize how much
Yeah.
textile waste there is in the world. There's so much textile
Crazy,
waste.
man.
So much textile waste.
I used to remember like buying one computer you use forever, right? And now they harder. And they make it harder for and that you have to buy a new thing. And I feel like that's the thing that we have to watch out for. And I think with the same kind of people will make decisions related to AI. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and the thing, I don't know if it's scary or a good thing about tech, right? Like my generation, I went from Pong to AI, right? In like 50 years, right?
Yeah,
So what's going to happen in the next 10, 15 years, right? We have no idea what's on the horizon, right?
correct. And it's a Pandora box, man.
I mean, we might have like personal robots following us around or something, or personal assistants and robots. I mean, who knows, right?
I think that's I will happen in our lifetimes. There's no doubt. I mean, that's not gonna be issues. I think it's more about for me, it's more about there were okay, this is me being crazy a little bit, but I don't know how long we're gonna have here. But I feel like this is some area that we need to the future is up to us. And I believe in multiverse. A lot of people agree about it. I believe in multiverse.
Oh, we're going to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so we go to that rat hole right now, man. But their own way alternative happen with whatever decision we choose. And I think that there's a universe that we're gonna be okay with AI. There's a universe that's gonna be fucked up. But I think that most likely that we're gonna be somewhere in the middle when you maybe coexist with some of those. It's like any other technology, right? Um, but we only have to look out for because we maybe end up finally at the point that we potentially create something smarter than us.
So this is what I believe, and people don't call me crazy, but I said on the podcast before.
Yeah.
So you know how you have dreams, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that your dream is Notiverse you somewhere else,
Yeah.
trying to communicate with you.
Yeah.
But there's no way to communicate yet.
Wow, we go through a rat hole, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now we talk about that, right?
Yeah, I think that's another verse you somewhere. You call it multiverse, whatever, but another verse you somewhere else.
And I believe that as well.
Trying to communicate with you.
I believe this as well, right? I'm a believer in dream is a communication. If you look at human and you think
and we
about,
just haven't figured out how to make that transfer of knowledge or skill yet.
okay, so
have you had this happened to you before? Like you have a dream,
yeah,
and you wake up.
I'm telling you,
and you're like, man.
as I go through
and you go back to sleep, and you go back to the same dream.
Yeah, Okay, I can share with you this. This is weird. Why I share this on the podcast, right? But this,
Did I tell you earlier, like people share something podcast and never thought they were sharing?
yeah, it's weird, but yeah, maybe why not? Okay, so this is me in Austin. I have a weird period. I talk about dream, right?
Mm.
That I have a certain weird dream that I actually can control it.
Mm.
Have you ever tried control
Yeah,
yourself in the
yeah.
dream?
I think they call it lucid dreaming is a
Yeah,
official
so
term
you can
for it.
control certain things. So it means that you can teach yourself how to
Mm.
control your dream. And I think that period actually changed me a lot as well. I think about things differently. Because in the dream you can basically can do everything,
Mm.
right? You can fly, you can jump from one thing to another, that have no boundary, right? Um, so during that period, I feel like my brain is painful every time you wake up, but it's you see things differently. And I go through a very weird period of you cannot distinguish between dream and real life. There's certain period that's so strange, right? But I think that when we talk about dream, I feel like we don't know enough about it, right? I believe that multiverse. So I think that the dream is actually a look back. When you have a computer, once in a while you see things happen with your computer. Part of it is because it's a certain software in the back that actually collapses each other. So if you think about human as a hardware, right? And what happened, your brain actually some sort of a software back loop, right? Then when you into hardware that try to communicate each other, right? It's just that will happen. It means that you're from another universe and you here communicate each other.
Yeah.
And the best way to communicate it is through dream. When your system is low.
Yeah, and we know so little about the brain, right? We know nothing about the brain, how it
Yeah.
operates, how anything works. I mean,
Yeah.
like example, like you might be alone by yourself, and like you're thinking about one thing,
Mhm.
and then another thing, and they have nothing connected at all, right?
Mm-mm. And I think part of it is could be something that you see in the past.
Mm.
It's not just in my okay. This is me again, a Buddhism or Appalachian karma multi life, right? I truly believe that dream is something that either that your previous life
Mm.
that still reflection on you, that you see your past or your future. Right? In Buddhism, we believe in right now in moments. It means that you basically at this moment, but you can life is not the linear,
Mm.
time is not the linear, it's the moment,
Mm.
right? So you actually connect your other moments, could be your
Mm.
past, could be your future, right? So you connect to each other.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's if you want to look at it, I can share you some link about it. But this is for me, right? For me, Buddhism is not about religious, it's more about philosophy.
Mm.
And I'm not religious guy per se, but I believe that a lot of things that they said in there, if you're looking back, it actually explains a lot of what's going on right now, right? That maybe previously we don't care enough about it. When they tell us, like, like a lot of things that in the past, let's say you go into like a small tribe in Africa, that in jungle in Amazon, let's say, right? They never see a phone before.
Yeah.
You try to explain people a phone, they will never understand.
No.
I think a lot of things that now we start realize is that based on our current experience, a lot of things happen with us right now. Like we are not clear about the future. We're at the point of AI. A lot of things that maybe make more sense for us. You're looking at some of the old scripture, could be Christian, could be Buddhism, some certain old scripture that actually help us understand what's going on now. So for me, yeah, we go from dream to religious now.
Yeah.
But the whole point of it is, I think we always try to separate between religion and science.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things that we maybe cannot explain yet because we don't have the technology.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the own scripture, you can actually, wow, okay, that may be one way to explain it. And I think dream, multiverse, that part of the some of the conversation.
Yeah, like religion, like people say, I believe in God. Like, well, which God, right?
Mm.
The Christian God, the Muslim God, or the Norse God, the
Yeah,
Romans. Like there
yeah,
were like hundreds of thousands of gods,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
which
And
God is it?
in Buddhism, we believe in that as well. We believe that there are multiple gods.
Mm.
And I think, and this is something that me watching bunch of documentary, right? But I like that as well, right? I think there was we nowadays have to claim ourselves to God, that we have to, have one religious. But I think back then, in the early day, people don't do that. You up to your religious, right? You whoever you choose, right? That's the reason why a lot of people just pick a rock or a tree to be their God. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, it's more about in any religion, they try to make sure that you do the right thing and you do good, whatever religion you are. Yeah. So I think that's a common thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if I'm making this up? What if like all these gods actually were like pose the God of Christians, like all these gods, right? And they're up to somewhere above the sky, and they're like playing this against each other, right? Like we're just a game of them, right? That makes me
Okay.
sense.
So this is funny because I think that this is something that you see um if you're looking at some of like what's it like Hindu, you're looking at like a lot of these old religious, and you look at like they talk about us as also, right? Previously a lot of God they fight in this order, right?
Yeah.
Think about it, right? If you let's say like America, Russia, they fighting a bunch of other country that don't know be a part of it as well. But always you have power and then you fight. So if God had a kind of power and don't have a right mindset, they will fight.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a normal thing. And then when you fight and you pick the fight and you basically have your fan, and then you end up like you have one religious and you again another religious. That's another thing. So in my opinion, there are multiple gods. Yes, I think so. Uh, why we have multiple race? Why we have multiple people? Why don't we have multiple gods?
Multiple languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't we have multiple gods? So I don't say that in issue.
And don't each culture have their own like their what's it called the flood story. Every culture has its own flood story.
Yeah. You look across all religions.
Yeah.
It's one of those event that actually consistent in multiple.
Like even Christian, the story of the virgin birth of Mary, whatever, or Jesus Christ. There's like history hundreds of years before that, like that makes the same story, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like if you look at the human race on the life of the earth, right? It's very small, right? And we look at that context, and you look at first of all, you have to ask the question: some of these events, this is the curse. I think yes. When even nowadays, right? One event happened in U.S. Let's say the election, multiple see it differently.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. So what happened with these like historical events could be that as well.
Yeah.
Depends on your perspective, depends on your background. You maybe see the event differently, but it's happened.
Yeah, like the Bible, is it really the word of God, or is this a group of like fabulous stories passed on through the years, right?
I'm telling you, right?
And another thing too, like my thing is this, right? I'm Roman Catholic, I'm religious, but this is a doubt, right? Like why is it every time God talks to someone, it's one person, right? It's like Moses or someone, Ezekiel, like how can this like you're God, like just tell everyone at one time, right? Why is like some poor downtrodden dude, yeah.
Yeah. So well, I'm not Catholic, so I don't know the answer to that. But I think that in my opinion, right, is just me to be no little. The whole I think it's more about the messenger, right? I think that we cannot understand God in my the will of why they want to do certain thing, and just think about it, right? We are too small.
Yeah.
You cannot understand
Our brain can understand this
we
stuff.
cannot process that. We don't understand the reason why all of this, and we try to use our own perspective to reasoning for something that we don't understand. That's not the same context, right? So why choose one? I don't know. But I think the whole idea about the right messenger is critical, right? And the messenger by himself, maybe a test for him as well. The same thing for us in the Buddhism, right? Why Buddha is or Phật is like the only one that actually understand, right? I think it's more about each of the messenger have a certain way of understand the message of God, right? I think for us the same. We are choosing do what we do right now. We are the messenger of God. We maybe not talk about,
Yeah.
religious. We may not try to, but we're helping other people. That's the will of God, right?
So what happens in this situation, right? I'm getting put in this. Let's suppose an alien comes here, right? And this alien,
Another rabbit hole that you want
yeah.
me to jump
And so
in.
let's suppose this alien, for lack of better terms, like, hey, he's able to read our minds, like all this power, he shuts everything down. And the alien say, you know what? I'm God. I'm the God of, Hindu, whatever, I'm the God, right? I think half the earth we would like worship him, other half we like, no, you're not.
Mm,
I think it's 50-50. Like 50% like, okay, obviously your God is about, the other half you're like, oh no, I don't know you about God, and try
yeah,
to fight him.
yeah. Yeah, alien is another interesting topic as well, right? And in like I said earlier, right? In certain tribe or certain community, people pick a rock to be their god.
Mhm. I mean, like when the Israelites left Egypt and Moses was gone 40 days, they made a golden calf.
Yeah. So for alien, back to your question, yes, I think we actually more open with like alien all this stuff right now. I think it's a lot more documentation being
Yeah,
released. You can see, okay, when you I think I live in long enough that I start see the trend now.
yeah,
That when people have some certain new big like that, they don't want release all at once.
yeah,
They want release pieces.
yeah.
And you see the news now more
Yeah.
open about
In
it,
the
right?
United States, Pentagon pretty much said there's UFOs out there. That they pretty much admitted that UFOs are a real thing.
Yeah. And like when in the past, I remember when I talk about UFO, I'm like, well, you crazy.
Mhm.
Now they like, maybe,
And another theory
different.
is too, like there's no UFOs because usually they have UFO sightings by military base US. So the theory is like, no, it's not UFOs. It's like the next advanced technology of the United States military, right?
Mm.
Doing stuff.
Yeah. So that's another interesting topic as well. I feel like, okay, if you more advanced civilizations, right? If you go into, let's say, American way more advanced than Vietnam,
Mhm.
even in the early day, would you what we try to do, right? You would try to observe and you try to impact and manipulate certain things, right? Any civilization, that's right. When you got advanced
Yeah,
and the lower, you will try to force certain, thing over. Same thing. If an alien come over to Earth, we are way behind. If they can
yeah,
travel that fast in
mhm,
times and they can do a lot of things like that,
yeah,
they're way more advanced, right? So what you want to do with that lower civilization? Well, one, you can observe them like you're a true scientist, you want to observe
yeah.
it, or two, you want to make certain impact, you plan certain thing that go the way you want to go, so different
So I
way.
have another theory too. It's off the wall. So you know how like there's like the ants and bees,
Mm.
like we know ants and bees are there. We don't pay no attention to them, right? We're kind of way over them. Like we might see them all the time. And like bees and ants are kind of challenged, right? They build stuff. I think there's something above us like that, right? There's something like we're bees and ants is something way above us. Like is that God, angels, or aliens? I don't know, right? I think there's a hierarchy to that.
Yeah, so this is something I feel like we have. I think is it in the Bible they said that as well. It's like God create human on His image,
Mhm.
right? So I think there was certain truth to that. I think that maybe we are the descendant of certain being,
Mhm.
right? And Earth is just a testing area, and I think that maybe we at a certain point when we're ready, we connected to God, right?
Yeah.
The one that created us, right? So I think there's some truth about that. For me, uh, yeah, that's why I'm saying like every day, every decision we make important. That's same thing that we said in
Mhm.
in Buddhism as well. Is that we call karma, right? So everything you do now is record for your future, right? So what you do now is meaningful
Mhm.
for what happened your next life, right? And we have a whole idea about karma if you have time to talk about it, right? But I think the idea about that one is if you're looking at more into kind of scientific modern life approaching to it, it makes a lot of sense, right? If we think um, our body is some sort of hardware, a computer, then your mind needs to be stored somewhere in the memory frame, right? And when you move from one computer to the next computer, you want to migrate your data, right? So in the past, what you do is you basically take a hard drive and you copy it, right? Nowadays, you can upload it to a cloud and then you migrate to a new computer. So that's what I'm thinking about in the human life as well. When we move from one life to the next life, you basically, when you die, you upload certain data and back into your cloud. And there's certain concept of that in Buddhism. I don't know how to say it in English, but there's certain. So they say that in our body, there's certain they call tử is mean like the Vietnamese say it. I don't know how to say in Chinese or American. But basically you have a certain thing in your, it may be your soul. When you die, you release that. And when you move in the next life, part of that it come to your next life. That's why you see a lot of people that they can, a young kid that can see something in the past. Because there's a glitching in the data that you can actually see some of the past. That's why I think a kid that they can have a certain, when they don't have language, right? But they still communicate kid to kid because they see pattern. So I feel like there are a lot of things that we don't know about that, right? And I think that our life right now, that's why I'm saying my mission in life is focus on the next generation, because I believe the next generation is me also.
Right. So what do you think about the concept of like uploading your consciousness into computers and clouds?
Yeah, that is what Elon tried to do right now, right?
Neuralink and that kind of
Correct.
stuff.
Yeah, and it's doable.
So if we're able to do that, like so example, my first podcast, a guy named Raphael Masters, he does like a robotic arms, robotic legs, like amputees, right? And so we're talking about like if in the future you can like replace all your body parts, upload consciousness, like become a robot. Like, are you still a human, right? Like when do you stop being a human and become a robot?
What is the boundary between humans? I think I think
like when you lose your humanity.
I think the conscious mind for me is the most critical. The human, the you can put on a biotic tech on your body, one point. But if you don't have the conscious
Yeah,
mind,
but you're into like this some crazy ass shit they fucking talking about over here. like you're like, what the fuck is this shit?
yeah, man. We can maybe take the conversation and go into a coffee shop and talk more. But maybe I can close my thought on this. I think it's subconscious. I think that's why I interested in people tech instead of people tech, not HR tech, because I believe that in certain stage we will not, we will have a boundary between what human anymore. I think that for make us as a people, as a human, I think the consciousness, the thing that we decide what right, what wrong, the ethical, right? Those is irrelevant. One day you will have on a built by 3D, and you can move one head to another. It doesn't matter. I think it's doable, right?
So do you think people are inherently good or inherently evil?
Good. I think that people by design are good. Humans be impacted by the environment a lot. And when you're in the wrong environment, you will be bad. And you will make decisions that you think good, but they're actually bad decision for other people. Most of people try to do a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, this definitely took a crazy turn, right?
Yeah, man. I think we need to wrap it up.
That's why I tell the people, we're gonna wrap up. So you gave a lot of value. Before you get out of here, well, first of all, can you say your social media or ways for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can catch me up on LinkedIn, right? Like I said, right? My company platform is this model.co. You can go to the website, see what we do. But I think the best way, and I love to connect you with right people. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. I think I connect you, Jason, so you can find me there. Yeah, I want to connect with the right like-minded people, passionate about people, tech, how we apply technology in people, apply technology to grow people. That's my goal.
And people that believe in the multiverse.
Absolutely. You want to talk about this? You can talk about this all day long. And we likely will catch up maybe coffee after this.
Yeah. So last thing, you give a lot of good advice, but can you give us any last minute wisdom or advice or anything you want to talk about?
Any advice? Okay. We have a long conversation, right? But few advice. One, for the people that want to do business in Vietnam, it's a great market, a lot of potential, young market, right? So you expect it it's grow, but it's gonna take time, right? Make sure that you set the right expectation when you come to Vietnam and manage the Vietnamese teams, right? So that is for people interested in Vietnam. Great country, great food. I recommend people come here. I think Jason can talk more about that later. But for the startup founder that out there, right? Try to find good reason to start your business, right? Find a good passion because if you don't, when the money not come, when the traction not there, when things not happen the way you want it, you will depressed and disappointed, right? So find a good reason to keep fighting the fight. I fighting this fight for next generation, man, for the people in tech. That's what I'm doing.
Ben, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Jason Cavendish Experience, Ho Chi Minh City Edition. If you're working to unfuck the Earth, Earth VC wants to talk to you. Thank you for your time, and remember to be great every day.
Thank you.